Thank you, Toshiya-san, for having this conversation with AsiaBizToday around, as we just about 2 weeks away from Sushi Tech Tokyo. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, can you give me a broad context of about yourself? I mean, because I know you wear a couple of different hats, and one of which is, of course, 9JP. So, the kind of role that 9JP plays in fostering the startup ecosystem of Japan.
Thank you very much. 9JP, first of all, that 9JP is a governmental project and the university-based startup network. So what we are doing is connecting. The only two keywords represent our activity: connecting and visualizing. And connecting with each regions from Hokkaido to Kyushu, and connecting our ecosystem with overseas ecosystem. And not just connecting, but visualizing what we are doing and researchers doing. And so connecting and visualizing. And as a result, we foster the innovation based on Japanese university research. And this is just the beginning stage because that we have started this project last year. So just 1 year. But this becoming Swiss Tech is very good opportunity for us to present what we are doing. Especially this Swiss Tech, we are going to focus on AI, artificial intelligence. But from Japanese research perspective, the foundational AI system is behind from China and US. But we have the strengths of the physical AI, robotics, and drones, and so on. And so we would like to show the showcase of our technology and also pitch contests and the panel discussion to focus on the future of the startup ecosystem in the era of AI.
You rightly mentioned about physical AI and Japan's strength in that, because I think long before the world recognized, I mean, industrial robots were probably first used in Japan. So, do you think that somewhere in between Japan kind of lost out in the race? I mean, because like foundational AI, I mean, particularly today with the large language models and all, US and China seem to have taken an edge there.
Yeah. It's also a good question, but because we are facing with this challenge. And AI has dramatically improved the situation of the robotics and also mechanical engineering field. But actually the Japan's advancement of the precisely machine learning and also the manufacturing technology is still the advantage. And so the existing AI advancement combined with our technology will result in some of the pioneering and the leadership of this field of the area. But what is important is the research university. And from the historical reason, Japan, especially the university, the cooperation between university and industry is a little bit weak, has been weak than US and China and maybe Singapore. Singapore is a leading, several leading universities, but they have strong incentive to start commercialization based on the research result. In Japan, a little bit weak about such incentive and motivation until last 10 years before. Our government and also universities and have tried to change this situation. And we have seen the visible change of the situation. So I'd like to show you what is going in Japan as a system.
Right. Okay. So, in terms of the role of 9JP, I mean, what exactly is the roadmap? How is 9JP going to help in strengthening Japan's innovation ecosystem, particularly in connecting startups, corporates, and universities, the way you mentioned it?
Yeah. And first to emphasize on is currently the business and research are getting together, simultaneously occurring the commercialization and research especially AI, the research area. So what we need is the university itself have to change into some of the commercialization and also researching the simultaneous that can be operated by the universities. And the NINEJP's role is one of the role is to change the situation and the condition of the university regarding to the technology transfer or IP transfer and the startup support and the university industry cooperation. The most important role of the NINEJP is to change the university-based ecosystem of Japan. This is fast. But still, we have many challenges. For example, the low diversity. This is very interesting. Last year, we have organized the first national conference, the representative from each areas. But whole 18 teams, all Japanese men, low diversity, no female, no foreign students or foreign researchers that we are facing. Anyway, the NINEJP is, as I told you, connecting and vigilant. But in order to proceed that, we have to change the climate of the culture and Japanese university. More diversity, more connecting with abroad, and this is what we are doing.
So one of the views that I heard about the Japanese startup, Japanese environment is that actually thanks to this startup culture now beginning, there are more women, who feel that, the usual challenges they face in corporate environment does not exist here, and there is more freedom, and hence there are more women now taking interest in startups. So is that something, while of course you have observed to the contrary, what do you feel about that? Does the evolvement of startup ecosystem provide women with more opportunities to showcase their talent?
Yeah, we have discussed about this issue with our partners. For example, ICL in London. You know that UK, ICL is the top of the university. And they had told me that 15 years ago, the situation was similar to Japan. Little women entrepreneurs that they have conducted 10 years program. The name of the program was We Innovate, changing the situation and encouraging the women entrepreneurs. We have started about this kind of the project in Japan, collaborating with ICL, not just ICL, but other. And what we have noticed that many women's the researcher and the student so interested about this kind of the program. So changing already started. And what is necessary is to encourage by the concrete program. We believe that a decade is enough to change completely the situation.
How important do you think are global partnerships and international investor participation for long-term growth of the Japanese startups?
It is inevitably necessary. Without the partnering with the global partners, it is impossible to, for example, unicorns. Unicorns need money. That in Japanese, the economic system, in a sense, equal system. Just picking up the large amount of the money is not was not suitable for Japanese climate for economy. So that we want to collaborate with global investment partners, including Singapore and also UK and in the US. But still, we are beginner of this area, so that NIJP as a whole Japanese universities network have some impact on attracting the global investors. For example, SUSTEC, the many judges from UK and America and also Singapore to cooperate with our event. This is very important opportunity for us to collaborate with global partners.
Isn't it a little surprising that SoftBank, which actually, emerges from Japan, is, was one of the largest investor
Yeah,
in
yeah.
so many unicorns across the world.
Yeah, yeah.
But the Japanese startup ecosystem is struggling.
Yeah, I know that. You know that the SoftBank uses money from the Saudi Arabia, no, not the Japanese one.
That's right. Yeah.
Anyway, we have been collaborating with the SoftBank too. And I was working for the Tokyo University for more than 20 years as a representative of the university industry corporation. And during the last decade, I have established the several joint venture with the SoftBank and directly negotiating with Chairman Song-san. And it was very hard. But I know that. I know him and I know the culture and what the kind of the decision they can do. And as an NINEJP, I like to cooperate with such major investors inside, not just a global partner, also Japanese partners. But they use Saudi Arabia money. Yeah.
Right. So, in terms of partnerships, how are Japanese large corporations coming out? In the sense that in most markets you will see that there is incubators and accelerators which large corporations set up, and which kind of enables them to develop new technology as well, which cannot be done otherwise internally. So in that respect, how have the large corporations in Japan participated in
Yeah, yeah.
developing the ecosystem?
That is a very good point. And I myself have been, my original measure primarily is research on policy, innovation policy, and IP policy, and observing large companies' activity in last decade. That the last decade, the behavior of the Japanese company, I mean that their interest in cooperating with the startups is dramatically increased. And 15 years ago, they are not so interested in a cooperation with startups. In Japanese, startups mean that just a small and medium-sized company, especially university, as I told you. Because of the historical background, that university is a university and industry is an industry, quite separate. But last decade has changed the situation dramatically. And the NINEJP project, including some of the major partner of the investment. One of the partners is main bank, SMBC, and several banks incorporated in Freya as a NINEJP. And also, we have several partnering with SoftBank SoftBank too. And this is very important element. Without the cooperation by large company, it is impossible to establish a really effective ecosystem for high maintenance services.
So Japan has been a closed market relatively over the last many years. So do you see the as startup culture evolves, probably the society is also kind of opening up. There is more receptiveness to collaboration with international players.
Yeah, we told that relatively, especially compared with Singapore, Japan is a closer.
Yeah.
But you know that our activities includes not just outbound but the inbound and the research. For example, in US, they are so interested in come to Japan or maybe come to Singapore rather than staying in US. But in order to do that, our ecosystem is important to attract them. And especially recently, last year, Bio International was organized in June in Boston. And many researchers of bio are interested in to come to Japan. But most of them have asked me that in Japan, there is any of the environment to use sufficient AI tools. For drug discovery, currently AI is inevitably necessary. So we have to provide such circumstances. Anyway, our ecosystem is important to attract foreign, abroad researchers, the startup entrepreneurs. And this is a challenge. No, we are interested in inbound also.
So, I mean, given your knowledge of the Japanese startup ecosystem, so obviously you know the kind of startups that are out there. Over the next 3 to 5 years, which sectors do you think we probably will see a few unicorns coming out of Japan?
Last 2 years, Web Summit in Lisbon, and each session, or maybe that the applicants is over 10,000 thousands applicants from all over the world. And the champion last year was Japanese startups from Kyoto University, just 1 year after the establishment. It's the area of the technology is biotech technology. And this is one of the strengths of our technology. Bio and also material and engineering, robotics, and these areas is one of our strengths. Also, recently our ecosystem have produced many startups regarding to space and also the fusion and not just the how to say the precisely designing the fusion plants or something like that. But anyway, our stance is not the software and the AI itself, foundational AI, but more physical area. So 5 years, several unicorns will be come from our ecosystem. We are expecting that.
Since you are involved with policy, you said that you specialize in policy. I mean, in your So, what kind of changes do you think should come about, which would help more of these innovations to translate into globally scalable startups of Japan?
The government policy is also have changed so dramatically last decade. The Japanese government, for example, METI, the Ministry of Economic and Trade Minister, have emphasized the importance of startup as the developing a startup ecosystem every occasion of the meeting. And the current prime minister, that it's getting very famous recently, that she likes the startup so much. And so the situation has changed. 10 years ago, I myself have emphasized on the importance of the a policy to acceleration or encouraging startups. But it is not necessary to say that at this moment. What is the remaining the challenge is the deregulation, not to stay what enough. So especially for the investors, abroad investors, overseas investors, tax issues. It's not beneficial as compared with Singapore. Singapore is really advanced and unique for startup and investors standpoint of view. But still, we are the remaining issues. This is a challenge.
So, what is your advice to international startups, investors looking to engage with the Japanese market?
Yeah, our market is now changing based on our policy and the university's climate change. For example, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, little of the students interested in the startups by themselves, and the researcher and the independent sector from the commercial sector. Everything have changed last decade. And so I believe that this is opportunity for the global investors, and we are welcome to come to Japan and to collaborate with us. We can help you, and we can help connecting. Why? Because our task is connecting and visualizing.
Thank you, Toshiya.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.